Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review Morning Briefing. It is Thursday, the 23rd of May. 2 days to go until the season culminates in that Scottish Cup final at Hampden. Joining me to discuss all things Rangers, Chris Jack, for the third day in a row, 3 in a row. Chris, how are we doing?
A hat-trick hero. Hopefully that's not the only hat-trick hero in blue this week. No, it's press conference day at Hampden. The SFA are doing a joint press conference to actually promote the women's final and the men's final, obviously both taking place this weekend. So we'll hear from Philippe Clement about 2:40, I think it is, for the Rangers one, and also a player as well. As far as I know, it's James Tavernier. So interesting as always. The final pre-match press conference of the season. It's been long, it's been emotional.
Yeah.
Hopefully this is the one that's previewing a good end to the campaign.
Yep, Blazing Blue just says it's press today or tomorrow. So it is today, buddy. It takes place this afternoon. So keep your eyes peeled on the Rangers Review website and on the YouTube channel for all the reaction from that. Right, just a quick word for our podcast sponsor before we get fired into all things Rangers. MPH Boilers have got those wonderful Viessmann boilers on offer. They've got the flexible finance options as well. If you want to spread your payments out, they fling in a free internet controller for all you gadget lovers out there as well. The all-important links are in the description below. Right, huge game on the horizon. Chris has got a brilliant piece on the website, folks. The link is in the description below as well, just on the last time the two sides met in the showpiece final. Cannot believe it is 22 years since the last Old Firm Scottish Cup final. It's quite remarkable, really. What a final that was, incidentally. One of my favourite finals of all time. The Peter Lovenkrands final. It was two good sides going head-to-head and really going at it, both Celtic and Rangers, but were top teams back then. And it's a great piece looking back on what was a wonderful day, Chris.
I don't know, right in that piece, I don't know how many times I've watched that Lovenkrands header back. Some for research, some just because it was a great end to a great Scottish Cup final. As you say, two really good sides. I think you go through the team lines, and I know people always say, how many players from this side would get in that side. If you look at the current crop, there's very few from either side that get into that one. I think it's a real. I think the years only highlight just how big an achievement it was from Big Ek to come in midway through that season. Going on in the League Cup, obviously, it was huge, but to then just change the balance of power with that Scottish Cup win, end up with the Cup double, and then obviously history shows what happened after that. So it's a really important win for obviously for Big Ek and for the players, but just to change the balance of power in Old Firm terms back then. And as you said, it's unbelievable that it's 22 years since the last time these two met in a Scottish Cup final. It's been a couple of League Cup finals since then, but you just think this type of fixture happens every few seasons, but it doesn't. So it's a really good piece to research and to write. Spoke to Ian Crocker, the commentator on that day. That's got that famous line of, "Is there a twist in the tail?" And of course there was. And also spoke to Stephen Kerr, former Rangers PR officer, who was working for the club website at that time, and kind of going through the build-up and feeling you feel the apprehension round about Ibrox in the build-up to it. You get to Hampden, and as you know, and as we'll experience on Saturday, you've got the two sides of it because you are invested. You're invested in the game in many different ways, but the professional side of you takes over, and you just have to get the job done. Hopefully, we are celebrating like Stephen and the team were all those years ago. But no, hopefully people enjoy the piece. As I said to Josh in a message last night, hopefully a cup double for an incoming manager would be a good omen.
Yeah, most definitely. A few comments coming off the back of that. James says what I'd give for a last-minute winner on Saturday. And William, just to think back at some of the players Rangers had at that point. Canigi on one wing, McCann on the other. Top players those were. And I'd love to have players even half the calibre of those on either wing for Rangers on Saturday. But there you go. Let's crack on with some of the news in the headlines you'll have seen last night. Chris's piece on the website. We discussed it on the show yesterday, of course, is the imminent arrivals, it looks like, of Jose Cordoba and Yefte, the Brazilian left back. It looks like those two will become Rangers players soon, Chris. And it's just what's getting them over the line, I'd imagine. Liam Kelly, we touched on yesterday as well. Big noise about him returning to the club. So that would possibly be 3 players of what will be a large number of players heading into the Ibrox doors in the summertime.
It will be a large number, but I think, as we've discussed over the last couple of days, it has to be a large number. Stevie also had his piece on the site earlier this week talking about the rebuild and who stays and who goes. I think there will be a big turnover. There has to be a big turnover. Rangers have to go and do this properly. I think it's a real sign of intent that they're looking to get deals done early. Looks like Hefty was heavily linked during the January window. That one didn't quite get over the line. I don't think it was really a priority as such back then, obviously with Ridvan and Borna in there. But also with Barisic moving on, Rangers need to strengthen that left back area. Hefty looks like the one that they've chosen to come in there. And Cordoba, again, we had the story at the start of this month about him being over for the Kelly game, having a look around Ibrox and having talks with the club and seeing what life at Rangers could potentially be all about. And as far as we understand, Rangers are very much in the driving seat for both players. So I think it says a lot about Rangers that they're looking to try and get their business done early, back for pre-season in 5 weeks or so, and they really need to hit the ground running. The manager's spoken a lot about pre-season, the importance of fitness. That schedule that they've got lined up is going to be really, really important to get them fit, but to get them into the story, as the manager calls it, get them into the way of playing. Difficult with a number of new players coming in, so that pre-season campaign is going to be really, really significant for Rangers, and they need to get as much business done as possible. So hopefully the next couple of weeks we'll see both of these deals over the line. But as far as we understand, Rangers very much in the driving seat for both of them.
Yep. If you want to know more about Hefty in particular, I'd urge you to check out the YouTube video I did with Stel, the Cypriot football podcaster. Did that a couple of nights ago now. He broke the news, actually, incidentally, that he was heading to Ibrox. So do go and check it out. He tells us a bit of how he's got on in the last few months at Apoel. And this evening, I'll be speaking to a Bulgarian journalist on Jose Cordoba, so we should get more information about what sort of centre half we will encounter at Rangers. He was playing last night, I think, for Levski in their match. It looks like both of those will be putting pen to paper. There was a comment that came in from someone that I'm scrolling up to find for the life of me. I can't. There it is, from James. He says, I saw one article about the Aussie winger on the plane. Is that true? This is a player that was also linked with Rangers by the name of Rafael Borges Rodriguez. Australian media report he is on a plane, but he will be signing for Coventry City in the Championship. So it was a player that was linked. There's going to be a host of players linked with Rangers between now and the end of the window, many of which won't come to fruition. By all accounts, reports in Australia suggest that he is going to the Sky Blues in the English Championship. Ian McPhee with an interesting point here. Of course, the players that have been linked have been from foreign shores. Ian McPhee says, I'm all for foreign signings, but we need Rangers men in to know what it means to play for the jersey. Totally get his point, Chris. I think that's one of the reasons why Liam Kelly will be coming into the club, just to fill, that we touched on yesterday, fill that sort of European quota of homegrown players. Still think Rangers should be looking at bringing in some of the top talent in the league. I've said it before, like David Watson, like Lennon Miller, Connor Barron. It looks like he's going to be departing Aberdeen. I don't think he's going to be heading to Rangers, but players of that ilk they should be looking to acquire.
I think it's important to have that Scottish spine, or that Scottish core of a squad. Again, it's something we've spoke about over the last few weeks. I think it's important to have that group who know what, even if you don't know what the club is like, you need to know what Scottish football is like. You have to go into Pittodrie. You need to know what it's like going to Tynecastle and playing in the atmosphere. having that experience and having that know-how can only benefit a squad. It's something that has been removed from the squad, if you like, over the last couple of seasons. Or Al McGregor moving on, Kent Morelos moving on. Scott Arfield was a big factor in that. You then look at this summer, Lundstrom will move on. You've got Ruffin, Barisic, Ryan Jack potentially moving on. So there's a lot of experience who just know the game here that's going to head out the building. And I think the manager has to try and address that. Ultimately, though, he needs the best players. If you are a good player, then you should be able to play anywhere. You look at some of the signings that Celtic have made in the last few seasons. I don't think Rio Hatate and Kyogo grew up in Japan with Celtic shirts on their back and posters of Henrik Larsson on their bedroom wall. They've come into the country with no experience of it and been outstanding signings for Celtic. So I do understand why people want homegrown players. I think that's it's important to an extent, because when Celtic bring in the likes of Kyogo or they bring in Hatate, they've also got James Forrest in the building, they've got Callum McGregor in the building, they've got Greg Taylor in the building. So that's the balance that they've been able to strike, and I think that's the balance that Rangers have to look to strike as well. They will lose a lot of experience of the Scottish game. I think it's important to replace that. But ultimately, when you're looking at your game changers, your match winners, your big outlays, you have to get the best players possible. I say Celtic have mastered that over the last couple of seasons. So I don't think you sign someone. It goes back to the Ollie McBurney point that was raised on the show with Stevie the other day there. If McBurney wasn't a Rangers fan, people wouldn't be looking at him and wouldn't be saying, let's go and sign him.
No.
Yeah. So yes, he knows the club. That doesn't mean to say that he's the best option for that 9 role. So I think you have to have that balance, have that blend within a squad, and I'm hoping that is something that Rangers will look to address in both regards, bringing in good young Scottish players, but also bringing in the best players that they possibly can, because ultimately the best players and the best team with the best manager will win the league.
Yep. Comment on Instagram from Gregster72 says, guys, can we confirm or do we know who is leaving the club bar the obvious out of contract players? So we are expecting a number of departures as well. We've touched on it before in videos. We touched on it yesterday. If a big offer comes in for Jack Butland, then he may be moving on. Aside from that, there was a comment that came in incidentally from Stuart Ferguson here. He says, any truth about having Golson away to Saudi? Now, this popped up a number of weeks ago now, and it comes off the back of people putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 5, if you like, because Steven Gerrard has been speaking about transfer business for his club over in Saudi, Al Ettifaq. This is what he had to say to the media outlet Shark. He said, I'll evaluate the situation and identify the strengths and weaknesses. We must be prepared to meet what the team needs to appear better. We realise that our team has developed, but there is a lot of work. We are building a good team, and we seek to enter the summer transfer market in a way that makes us the best in the Saudi League, as we did in the last transfer market, where our signings were reasonable and very strategic. Knowledge must be transferred to the Saudi League, so we need experience. That is what I also want to do while I'm here. But there are things that Saudi players must do to improve. There is a lot of work that must be done. So it's just noise at this moment in time. Tav's been linked with a move to Saudi for the last few transfer windows. Incidentally, nothing has materialised. Goldson is one. The comment that came in from Gregster before is one. I'd imagine if a decent offer comes in, I think Rangers may move him on. I know that the manager did say he expects both to be part of the squad next summer, but he would say that. He's not going to say when the season was still live that they're heading out the door. Do you expect both to be part of the squad next season, Chris?
I think that's probably, outside of Jack Butland, this is going to be the talking point in terms of departures over the next wee while. I think everyone would be delighted if Jack Butland stayed. I don't think you find a Rangers fan that's shoving the number one out the door. You might find a few that are willing to drive Tav and Golson to the airport, though. They certainly seem to have fallen in the eyes of many fans. I just spoke to someone I know out in Saudi about this yesterday, and there's still chat over there about these two potentially joining up with Steven Gerrard. So it's not just a story over here; it's doing the rounds over there as well. Ultimately, until there's a phone call made and there's money on the table, then that's when it becomes a bit more serious. I think if you're both players, it would have to take something really special to take you away from Rangers. And both been here for a number of years now. They're settled in the club. Also, huge figures within the club. Families are settled. They've both spoken about that over the last couple of seasons as well. Tav also moving towards a testimonial. So I think it would have to take something really, really special, and by special I mean lucrative in terms of wages. If you're both of them, you don't want to go back down south and be top end of the Championship. That's not going to be an enticing move for you. If you go mid-table Premier League, maybe slightly more enticing, yes, slightly better financially. But I think when the Saudi money comes in and you're talking about multiplying your salary several times over, that then becomes a very different conversation. So until that's actually on the table, we can all discuss whether it's going to be a good thing, bad thing, whether it should be here or not. As you say, that the manager made his position on it a couple of weeks ago. Tav spoke about it when he was announced for the PFA Player of the Year. So it is something that has been doing the rounds. I think it is something that will continue to kind of tick over these next couple of weeks. I say until Steven Gerrard or anyone else puts money on the table, then we're talking hypotheticals. But I think it will be a really interesting situation to see how the manager deals with that. Stevie mentioned it again in that piece yesterday. If you're talking about the end of a cycle and you're talking about a rebuild, what a statement it would be from Clement if he got rid of the captain and vice captain. Now that's quite a way to end a cycle. Whether that happens or not, it's only time will tell.
Yeah, just on Tav as well. I mean, the here and now, when we had Johnny on the show on Monday, he's not in form at this moment in time. Huge match coming up on Saturday, Chris. He proposed Tav being moved up one or a change of shape for Rangers, and just to sort of negate his poor form and to cover that right-hand side. I don't want James Tavernier playing it right back on Saturday. I think that is Rangers' weak link.
Now there's a bold call from you. So are you going Dujon Sterling in it right back?
I'd either go Dujon there. I'd move Tav up. I'd move him maybe more centrally. I'd move him somewhere else other than right back.
Josh actually just asked me to do a couple of talking points for a piece for the website, and one of the points I'm making in that is Dujon has to play in the middle of the pitch. So for me, Tav then starts at right back. I think it would be a huge call from the manager to drop the captain for an old
I'm not necessarily saying drop him, but move him somewhere else, because it's just an area that Rangers are getting exploited in. Not just right back, but left back as well is a concern.
I think if I would be astounded if Tav doesn't start if he's fit and he starts at right back. I think by having Sterling in the middle of the pitch, it perhaps offers you a bit more cover on that side. You think back to how Steven Gerrard's side operated against Celtic and were very successful against Celtic. They had the midfield able to go out slightly wider and help out the fullback. So my midfield three would be Diomande, Raskin and Dujon Sterling, and I think Sterling has such an important role to play defensively in terms of Saturday. I think Tav starts at right back. I think anything other than that is a really, really big call. And if you don't start him at right back, you're then sending a big message to the summer. If he's not fit, if he's not good enough, and you don't back him in this game, how can you then back him going forward?
Well, he's not good enough right now for me. He's not playing anywhere near the level that he should be playing at. Lots of comments coming in just off the back of that. Andrew says, 3 at the back with Sterling at his right centre-back. Great cover. Ian with the point says, Tavernier will be right back, Derek. Stop torturing yourself thinking otherwise. And Nevitz with something that I've considered. He says, I've Tav in midfield 3 and Sterling at right back. Yeah, could that be an option? Is that a tad left field? Let us know in the comments, folks. It certainly has sparked debate. There's no doubt about it. Blazing Blue with the issue says Tav's issue is that he's asked to play as a wing back. That leaves his space open in the first place. Sterling in midfield would cover. Yeah, it's certainly an area that the manager will have to address going into the game on Saturday. Right, other news I wanted to touch on. Oscar Cortez has given an interview to a media outlet back in his homeland of Colombia. Very interesting stuff, and you can read the translation of that over on the Rangers Review website. He spoke to Pipe Sierra, who's a Colombian sports journalist, and on his time at Rangers and his future. This is what he had to say. Me and my agents are keeping tabs on the negotiations that are taking place. We will see what happens. I'm talking to my agents and also to Lawns and Rangers. Let's see what happens. I am waiting. On his injury, he says, I'm doing well now after everything that has happened. There were obviously difficult times, but I think with the help of all the people I have around me, they helped me a lot, and they have helped me to be calm in my head as well. I arrived and started doing things very well, and unfortunately the injury came and I had to stop for 3 months. But I thank God I am already in the recovery process. And he was asked about what his dream move would be. And he said, since I started playing soccer, my dream has been to play for Real Madrid. It has always been my dream. My dream is to get to Real Madrid with work and sacrifice. I believe that it can be achieved at some point. They are my team. Love that. From Cortez. There's no doubt about it. Rangers have badly missed him. He looked good in the brief outings that he played before picking up that injury at Rugby Park. And he's aiming high. He wants to play at Real Madrid, Chris. So I'm pretty happy, content with that. As long as he does the business for Rangers, and then he can play for Real Madrid in a few years, no problem.
Fair play to him. It's always nice to have a dream. If he gets anywhere near that level, then Rangers will be quids in, obviously. As long as he goes straight to Real Madrid from us, and we don't do a Morelos and let him go on a free transfer. I think he was a big miss over the last few weeks. The manager obviously had to address the wide areas during the January transfer window. Cortes was a big signing in that regard. I thought the first couple of games he looked really bright. Clearly, he was going to take time to settle into Scottish football, to get used to Rangers. But I thought there was enough in there to suggest, now this boy's clearly got something. I wrote a big piece on him, maybe round about the time year before he signed or just after he signed. Can't remember when it actually went out, but round about then. Had a big piece on his upbringing and his great journey in the game. He'd been really tipped highly as one of the next big things to come out of Colombian football. The move to France didn't really work out for him. It didn't really go as planned. But I think there was enough to suggest during the first couple of weeks of his Rangers career that he could be an effective operator for us. Losing him, I say, it's such a big blow for the manager. Denied us the pace and width that he's keen to inject into this side, and Rangers haven't really looked right since, because it's been square pegs and round holes at times in those areas. So I think there's enough in there for me to suggest that he's worthwhile signing, but only if the money's right, obviously. We spoke a bit about Abdallah Sima the other day. There's just to stand still, in effect, if you like. There's a lot of money has to be spent just to keep the squad, or to keep options in the squad that we've got already. So I think it'll come down to what Brighton want, what the package is for Cortez, and it's also up to the manager and Neil Scotland to decide if those deals are worth pursuing or not. But Cortez is someone that I like. Good to see that he's back. He's back fit, and he's back and ready to go. Also not fit for action in terms of the final, but has come through the injury. Hopefully he's ready to rock for pre-season, and that's the time will tell if that's part of the Rangers squad or not.
Yeah, Rangers working on a deal with Lawns. Whether that's a permanent one, who knows? But they're working on it, as Cortez says about his future. Let's hope we see more of him in a Rangers jersey. Other bit of news yesterday, you'd have seen the international squads being announced. First of all, Ross McCausland named in the Northern Ireland squad for their upcoming friendlies against, I think it's Andorra and Spain, if I'm not mistaken, that they are playing. Scotland also naming their provisional 28-man squad for the Euros. They've got a couple of friendlies coming up at the start of next month. They take on Gibraltar and Faro, and then Finland at Hampden. Now, this headkeeper gets in touch. What's the situation with Ryan Jack? Picked for Scotland squad, but unavailable for us. John Suter and Ryan Jack have been selected for said Scotland squad. Now, Jack hasn't featured for Rangers for quite some time, but Steve Clarke addressed the issue in his press conference. He says that Ryan is not in because he's due a chance. He's in because of what he's done for me before as a player. I understand the qualities Ryan brings to the squad and to the team when I put him on the pitch. You have to look at them. The players come back from injuries and think, okay, how do we get them in? How do we assess their fitness? How do we know their fitness? There are still 1 or 2 doubts, even as we go into the last 10 days before we get to the final selection of 26. That was the reason for the slightly bigger squad. It was just to give me a little bit more time to assess 1 or 2 and hopefully come up with the right choice at the end. What Ryan has to do is to come into the camp and train well. Hopefully, I can give him some minutes on the pitch. He has to show everyone he is fit, but I know he's been fit at this club for a couple of weeks now. They have chosen not to play him. That is their choice, but Ryan is fit and raring to go. So there you go, Chris. Ryan Jack, I've got to say it was a surprise to see him called up to the Scotland squad, but as Steve Clarke says, he has been fit for a couple of weeks now. It hasn't been used by Rangers for whatever reason, and what do you make of that?
Like you, I was surprised when the squad got released yesterday morning. Ryan Jack's name was not one that I expected to see. I did expect to see John Souttar. Really pleased for him. I think that's a fine reward for what has been a decent season overall for him. I think he merits that place in the squad. Also, really pleased for Ross McCrory to get the call up as well. He's had a difficult start down at Bristol City, but he played a lot of football in the second half of the season. Really good to see. Also, injuries in that area of the pitch have certainly helped his cause. But no, pleased for those 2 guys. Jack obviously missed the last tournament through injury. Has had so many problems since then. But I think that Steve Clarke has outlined it fairly well there. He's not picked because he's in great form. He's picked on he's a good player to have around the squad. He hasn't really let Steve Clarke down previously. And I think if you look at the other midfielders within that group, Ryan Jack stands out as someone just a wee bit different. Armstrong and Christie, clearly more attacking options. Billy Gilmour we know all about. McGinn, obviously proven at this level. McGregor we know all about. McLean and McTominay. There's not really anybody else in those options that can do the job that Ryan Jack can. So I think it's clear if they can get Ryan Jack fit, he can be not an automatic starter for Scotland, but can have a part to play. In Rangers terms, he played against Queen's Park in the Glasgow Cup a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. I'm not really surprised, to be honest, that he's not featured for Rangers since, because you're building up to the cup final on Saturday. I think the manager had to get minutes into Nico Raskin. He had to give him a chance to show what he could do. As soon as Lundstrom get sent off at Parkhead, people had all but written him off for hand and said, "Well, that's him. He should never play for Rangers again." If that's going to be the case, you need Ryan Jack. You need Jack to be fit to be in the squad, but you need Raskin to be fit to be in the team. Raskin had to get a lot of game time over these last couple of games. That has happened. I think Raskin starts at the weekend. Wouldn't be completely surprised if Ryan Jack makes the squad. And overall, I think it goes down as a real shame, because I'm a big fan of Ryan Jack in terms of what he can bring to the squad. On his day, he's a very, very good player. He will be a good player once he's fit. But how often have we said that? That fitness issue is also just such a huge one. So hopefully he can do something over the next couple of weeks. I don't think it'll be on Saturday. I'd be surprised if he has a big part to play in the cup final. But if he can get himself fit and he can get to the Euros, I'd still be pleased for him. Yes, it's not been the end of the season that he would have hoped for, but I would still be pleased for him if he was able to get that. If he was able to get that place within the Scotland squad and get himself to a major finals.
Yeah, if he's fit, listen, I think it's a call for the manager. Bluebells or Blue says, I don't get that Chris Jack over Raskin all day long for me. But there's a reason the manager isn't playing him. He has been an unused sub, of course. But an interesting one. And the question came in, what's his contract situation? He'll be, likelihood is he's departing Rangers in the summertime. He's another one, as we touched on, Cortez. Picked up an injury and missing for a large chunk of the season. It really did cost Rangers in the middle of the park. And what's more galling is like Abdallah Sima, like Ridvan Yilmaz, it wasn't picked up whilst playing for Rangers. It was whilst they were away on international duty. We'll wrap up with this. You'll see news yesterday. The Walter Smith statue unveiling will take place this coming Saturday at 12 noon. A Rangers statement added, located on Edmiston Drive at the Copeland Road end of Ibrox, supporters are invited to gather at the head of the Scottish Cup final as the Smith family and guests display the permanent memorial to one of the true greats of the club for the first time. Given the anticipated attendance, Edmiston Drive is likely to be closed for a short time. Supporters should not park on Edmiston Drive between Copeland Road and Broomloan Road. Instead, cars and buses can park for free at the Albion car park. A commemorative programme marking the event will be on sale at the unveiling, with all profits going to the Rangers Charity Foundation. It continues talking about, it says, Walter's contribution to Rangers in the modern era is without equal. And following a year-long process, his legacy will now be preserved in bronze on the corner of the stadium footprint between Edmiston House and the Copeland Road stand. In keeping with his lofty stature in the history of the football club, the bronze piece has been designed and sculpted by esteemed London-based artist Douglas Jennings, whose portfolio includes a statue of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II in London, and in the football sphere, Jack Charlton and George Cohen. Under Walter's tutelage, first as assistant manager to Graham Souness before taking the reins permanently, Rangers lifted 9 league titles in a row, as well as 3 Scottish Cups and 3 League Cups. And it goes on. It's a long statement there. Folks also get a comment from Chairman John Bennett as well. He says it's a poignant moment in the history of this great football club to unveil a statue of our legendary former manager, Walter Smith. Yeah, cannot wait to see that being unfurled. I think long awaited, Chris. It's something that I think we've all been looking forward to. And should be a nice wee moment down there at Ibrox prior to the Scottish Cup final.
As we said earlier on in the week, no more fitting or worthy or deserving a recipient. I think it'll be quite an emotional moment for a number of fans. Certainly for a number of people at the club that worked under Walter or worked for Walter, and obviously for the Smith family, just a great moment for them to see it. I'm really looking forward to seeing the work that's been done. It has taken time, but I think it had to take time. The club had to make sure that it was right. I was at the AGM a couple of seasons ago at Douglas Park and confirmed that this process was ongoing. And I think, I say, it has taken time, but Rangers had to get this one right. They have to pay as worthy a tribute to Walter as possible. And a couple of hours after that statue is unveiled, there would be no more worthy a tribute for these players and this manager if they could go and lift the cup.
Yeah, can't say anything more than that. Right, folks, that'll do us there. Big thanks to everyone for interacting with the show as ever. Just a reminder, it is press conference day. We'll hear from the manager and James Tavernier, it looks like, a little bit later on this afternoon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And so if you want to check out Chris's 2002 Scottish Cup feature, that is on the website this morning. The link is in the description below as well. Right, if we don't speak to you a little later on, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Bye for now.